Like, we're so passionate about culture.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing that always brings us together.
That is very true. And how did we meet, by the way? Good question.
I do remember.
Yes, I can't remember too. But what's your
No,
version?
I remember perfectly.
Oh, what
yes,
happened?
I came to audition for Luna's ring.
Okay.
For Luna.
yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
But how did we know each other before then? How did you even hear about it? I remember seeing you at Rock Gorgeous.
Through a common friend as well, Carla.
Who? Is that what it was? Huh.
I think the first time was through Luna's ring.
Mm-hmm.
And then our common friends say, oh, I know him, you know her. She would be perfect for Luna. She's Cuban. And she mentioned something very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
She said, listen how her shoes are like walking through the floor. In my auditioning video, you could hear my shoes. Shh, 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 shh.
Is that right?
Yeah. And she said, that's very Cuban. She said that.
So wait, why is that Cuban?
Because I think we kind of like, first of all, we use a lot of flip-flops. You know, indoors as well.
I remember that actually. Yeah.
It's not something that you do.
Slip this way a little bit.
It's not something that you do, that people do here in Cayman or like in other countries. But our Cuban indoor shoes are flip-flops. So you get home, you take off your shoes and you put on your home flip-flops. And that kind of like the comfort of your home, it makes when you walk less, more comfortable.
Less
you
business,
kind of like,
you're at home. Yeah,
exactly. So you kind of like hear it more. And she was like, listen to that. That's very Cuban.
I'll have to rewatch your audition video.
I remember her saying that.
Seeing you flip-flopping around the place. But yeah, so when was that? That must have been like 2016, 2017. So almost 10 years. And I see the Cuba tattoo on the wrist. Yeah, I
always on my
that.
heart. Almost 10 years. I can't believe that. And then obviously, my kahuna.
Yes,
it was like extra small versus extra large next to him. and it wouldn't work. But I'm so happy that you made me part of the project and you wanted me to come with you guys and to have me as part of Luna.
Yes.
And that is a very dear part of my life. And the fact that it happened while living in Cayman is also very precious.
That's true, because you were living here, but then we went to Cuba to film it. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was living here and I was so shocked that you cared so much about keeping the Cuban story very authentic. That you had Cuban actors and actresses, that you had me, you had an entire group of people and professionals that could keep it very Cuban. Very Cuban. You wanted everything very Cuban.
Well, Mike wanted it very
Cuban.
That's funny. Because I remember, there was a part, I don't think it actually made the final cut, but who is the Cuban goddess?
Oh, yeah, Ochún.
Yes, exactly. And I remember you telling me about Ochún. I'm like, I have to have Gema a part of this because...
Oh, wow. Yellow is actually Ochún's color.
Is that right?
Yellow,
Okay.
There's a very interesting thing that I do, and therefore my family that's here in Cayman. So Ochún is the Cuban goddess. She's the goddess of she's the mother of all Cubans, but she's also the goddess of the woman and everything related to Cuban woman and Cuban sensuality and the beauty. And the yellow color represents her, but also yellow flowers and honey. And she's the goddess of rivers.
What? Rivers? Oh.
Rivers. And Yemaya, she's the goddess of oceans. And then when I got here to Cayman, we usually put yellow flowers in rivers in Cuba for Ochún. But I couldn't find a river here.
Right.
So I was like, what do I do now? So I started putting yellow flowers in the ocean, right here, right across the street.
Cool.
And it became a tradition for my family. So whenever we had something important to pray for or to thank for, we would go and put yellow flowers. And the owner, right here across the street, where the pier is, right next to the wharf, the family that owns that place, because I would always go there. The guy ended up coming and asking me,
"What are you doing?
What are you doing? I have seen you for years putting these yellow flowers in the ocean. Can you explain why?" So I explained a little bit why I do it. And we had a photographer also one time taking pictures of the area, and he was very like, "Oh, that's very interesting, and there's any tradition behind it." And the funny thing is that the flowers on the ocean are for Yemaya, the goddess of the oceans. But I always go there, I'm like, "This is for both of you, okay? Both of you.
Don't get jealous.
You both protect our islands, Cuba and the Cayman Islands. Both of you, goddess, please protect our islands, and thank you for everything, and give us light and everything." But yeah, Ochún is very important for us.
And so where's the history of those goddesses? Is it...
It comes from Africa, from the Yoruba tradition, Yoruba culture. And in Cuba, it's a mixing pot of everything. But a lot of our influence come from Africa and from Spain as well. So...
And then, so like, I feel like the Santeria is kind of like a mix of like African and Christian, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. It is a mix. And in Cuba, we say we all believe in everything, and
that's true. You guys are like you're not sort of like, "This is what I believe."
Oh, no.
And I'm right.
Yeah, we're very spiritual. Yeah. So, if we have to go to church, we go to church. But if we have to go to a santero, we go to a santero, And you can call Ochún Virgen de la Caridad del Cobre, which
the Virgin Mary.
Exactly. Or you can call her Ochún as well. So I think we are very open to the diversity. And, we all believe in everything, and we give back to everything as well. You can be baptized through church, but you can also have your mano de orula, which represents Santeria, which I think Mike had one.
Probably. I don't think he's in Cayman, but I need to get him on the podcast next time he's in Cayman for
Please.
You're right about that.
Definitely. Yeah. He's going to make it very interesting. Well,
You know Mike, right? So when have you last been to Cuba?
2 weeks ago.
Nice. What's it like over there? Every time my friends go to Cuba, like Randy and Claudia, they're like, "Oh, it's changing so much." And I'm like, "No, it's not. No, it's not. Every time I go to Cuba, it's the same."
It is.
What am I missing?
It is changing because we're Cuban.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And we can see, tourists don't see it because you guys go and see the best of us. But we go back home and home is struggling. You see, the masses of people that are leaving Cuba, the economy is definitely, it's been collapsing and failing us for a long time, but now it's affecting people that I haven't affected before. And growing up, you wouldn't see, it was blur, I would say, the different, there have always been people in Cuba with a lot of money and people with way less money. But right in the middle, it was pretty blurred. And the middle was pretty white, right? Now you can see it very clearly how the society is divided. And every single aspect in Cuba, every single sector is collapsing. And as a tourist, you don't see it, right? Unless, that you get sick and you need certain specific things. And if you don't get them, that's when you're going to say, "Oh, what's happening in Cuba?" But as a tourist, you go to enjoy. But as a Cuban, and you go back home and you see your grandparents, and now that I bring up my grandparents, households in Cuba there are no kids.
Really?
There used to be.
Not, you're saying that no one's having kids? What you're saying?
No, what I'm saying is that families are leaving and taking their kids with them. Of course, there are kids in Cuba. What I'm saying is it was very difficult for you to find a house in Cuba where the youngest generation wasn't there. You would always, Cubans, we grew up with 3 generations in the house, grandma, mom, and you.
I remember,
right? There's always 3 generations. And you go back home now and you either have only grandparents and parents, and their child is not there, or just the grandparents,
right?
Because people is leaving, everyone is leaving, and for those that are staying, Cubans right now are a little bit sadder than we used to be. I'm not saying that we have lost that what make us, Cuban, that we're always happy and making a joke out of everything and anything. We're still like that. But you can see it's weighing on us, especially on them, on the ones that are there. And that's the reason why, Claudia, they're probably saying that, because we can tell that it has changed. We're going through a period where it's difficult to go back home, to see what they're experiencing, and what we are losing as a generation, right? Now we are the parents. We would like to have the same things that my parents. It was very difficult as well for them, like 20, 30 years ago. But I think right now it's
that much worse,
yeah,
huh?
It's definitely much worse. I mean, I really hope and pray that things get better. There's everything. There's a song that says todo lo que sube tiene que caer. Therefore, everything that falls down has to go up. At some point, I really hope that something changes and we go back to being that island full of life and happiness, and regardless what the moment in history we're going through, you would go and experience what you have always experienced, right? But as a tourist, you still go, and we're still smiling, and we're still giving you coffee, and we're still taking you to dance salsa, right? So the essence is still there.
Yeah, it's. I really wish, what do you say? Everything that falls must rise again, and it would be great to see Cuba rise again in my lifetime, because when you go there and you see, kind of, you have when you see the buildings and the uniqueness of Cuba, you can imagine what it was like in the 50s.
Oh my gosh.
Oh wow, and it's just like, wow, there's nothing in the Caribbean like that.
I know, nothing.
There's nothing
like that.
But then it's just like a memory.
Living in there.
Yeah.
It's kind of like untouchable. Even though you're walking right next to it, it's like a ghost.
It is.
You know what I mean?
Yes, it is.
It's there, but at the same time, it's like it doesn't exist, because it's
there.
so old, so ugly, like falling, and
buildings dilapidated, but you can see what it used to be, and it's amazing. And then, there's a couple of videos back in the day of like Havana during that time period, and it's just like, wow.
Now that you say that, I recently went with some friends to Las Vegas, and there were certain hotels that we walked in, and their faces were like, oh my God, I've never seen anything like this before. And for me, it was completely different. I'll be like, I have seen something like this in Cuba.
Right.
There are buildings in Cuba with this type of architecture and with this type of decorations. And you go to El Capitolio, when you go inside.
In Vegas?
No, in Cuba. Okay. In Cuba. The capital, the Cuban in Havana capital. Right. When you go inside, you see that type of architectural style, right? And there's there are a few cinemas in Cuba as well that when you walk in and you look up, that type is not just like a flat concrete ceiling. You actually see, the style, the decoration, a lot of different architectural styles, right? You would see the whole range. And I actually say that. I was like, I wish we could bring to life again everything that we have in Cuba, because all the promenades, all the parks, everything, because it's beautiful, it's amazing, and it's still there. I think that hurts even more, that you go back and you see it and you're like, why is it in this state, in this condition, But yeah, let's see.
Well, it's interesting that you said Vegas, because that's how Vegas took off, right?
It was going to be in Havana.
Right. Yeah. It was in Havana, actually.
Started off there. It was there.
And there was just, I guess, just a lot of, I don't know, like gambling and just like entertainment and all of that. And then, obviously, as we know, Fidel took over and he kind of knocked that out. And Vegas was almost non-existent at that point.
I know.
And then everyone moved to Vegas to kind of recreate that vibe. So That's kind of like an unknown story. I don't
and
hear
big names.
very big names
came to
like
Havana.
who's it, like Al Capone and
all
some
of
of
them.
the
all of them.
very interesting. And what was that Jewish gangster? I can't remember his name as well right now, but yeah, there were some big names.
If you go to Hotel Nacional, Hotel National,
we went there.
You remember? There's like these. There are pictures of
true.
all of them.
That's right. There is. Yeah. Huh.
And you'd be like, "Wow! Never imagined that this person was actually here." You know, that's another thing. When we went to Vegas, went to a couple of like shows, and same. That the culture, right? Like the Cuban culture, everything related to dance, to shows in general. The Cuban, and I'm going to say Cuba, not just in Havana, the nightlife when it comes to entertainment, performances, shows, theater, cinemas, everything related to culture, it was so big. I am not sure how well maintained that is for kids as well. That's one thing that I miss a little bit here. You know, like in Cuba, you had so many different groups when it came to like drama or dance or kids related or for grown-ups, right? And I always say when I go to big cities, I would love to live in a big city as well. I'm from Havana. Like I do miss the
vibe of the big city.
The fast pace of it. I am very happy that my 3 little ones are growing up here in a more slow pace type of life. But what I do miss, I have realized, is being able to take them to see shows live. And in Cuba, we had that a lot. And I miss that as well.
True. I mean, I'd like to think we can create that here a little bit. And there's a few things that happen.
There are.
And it has grown a little bit. But, it's not, definitely it's not on the scale.
There are. I mean, obviously we are way smaller here than we are in Cuba. But we are doing, I am actually working with, I teach dance. I think I have told you before, at Dreamchasers Cayman.
Okay.
And they are very traditional, which I love. And that's why my 3 kids go there.
Okay.
Well, the oldest 2. And they're very traditional focused when it comes to the Caribbean style, to bring out again the traditional Caymanian dances. And the director, Mel, she is amazing when it comes to preserving the Caymanian culture.
Cool.
And they learn how to dance quadrille and, not only learning, they own it and they're proud of it and they are passing it down to the next generation. And the reason why I bring my kids to this specific dance company, first of all, she's amazing. She's an amazing dancer. She's a very dear friend. But it's also because I think it's one of those places where expat kids can be with Caymanian kids. That we don't really have a lot of those places on island. I mean, obviously, every single place is open to all of them.
Sure, I get it.
But you would always see either the majority of expat kids or the majority of Caymanian kids. And you don't really see the mix a lot of those times. I wanted to take them somewhere where they could be part of the Caymanian culture because I am so proud of my Cuban culture, like that I am.
Oh, I know.
And my husband is so proud of his South African culture. And like I said to you before we started the podcast, I think like cultures are like a little bit of dying here in Cayman because even though I try very hard, my kids will never be as Cuban as I am. And they will never be as South African as their dad is. But they're growing up here, but they're not Caymanian. So it's like very difficult to find their identity.
Right. That's interesting. I never thought about that, really.
It is very interesting, and it's happening to this new generation of kids growing up in Cayman where they don't really belong to any culture as much as we did.
Right. Huh. That's fascinating, actually.
It is beautiful, and it's a little bit frightening at the same time because they're getting, I mean, let me put you an example. Like with my very young kids, I'm Cuban, my husband is South African, and they're growing up in the Cayman Islands, right? But they have been to Holi celebration with the Indian culture, right? Because they do it for the open public and because they invite us all, we go, right? But how do you tell my kids now that that's not part of their culture when they're like 6, 4, and 2 now, but they have been to every single one of those holy parties that they put together for 6 years now, in 20 years. And they have been every single year to one of them. How do you tell them that that is not part of who they are? You know?
Well, maybe you don't tell them that. Maybe they are. Maybe that is a part of who they are.
Unconsciously, you don't tell them. But as a person from another culture, you know, there are terms like, oh, you're appropriating cultures, you know, those type of things. Those type of things. Exactly. Like every single time I say like you are appropriating our culture because you are or you look white, and I say you look and not you are, and I will tell you now why.
I want to appropriate Cuban culture, and I felt like I was doing that, like straight up.
You were, and if you braid your hair, you know, you fall under this. I am scared of. I'm not scared. Yeah. I mean, I will never be scared.
I know what you're saying.
But you know what I'm trying to say? Yeah. You braid your hair and you are like, you could fall victim of like, oh, you're appropriating our culture. I'm like, well, half of my family is black. You can't see it. But coming from Cuba, you would never appropriate another culture. You would honor that other culture. Wow, you know what I mean?
That's it's so not
about
better.
It's not about appropriation. I am honoring who you are, where you're coming from, right? And I think it's very easy for me to say that because I come from a country where everyone is very mixed. Not only culturally, religiously, also like your race. Half of my family is white, but half of my family is black. When Black Panther came out, I felt so represented, you know, because like my entire dad's family, they're black, but then my mom is white, you know, like I felt like I was in between when you're talking about black culture, like I feel seen, but I come from a country where you don't appropriate, you honor other people, cultures, other races, and I think here, what's happening is that the kids are getting a bit of everything and not enough of anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's a fair diagnosis of the situation.
Yes. And as of right now, nothing happens. But if you say Cuba, if you talk to me about Cuba, you know, there's coffee, even though I don't drink coffee, but there's coffee, there's salsa, there's sugar, there's rum. You know what I mean? Very distinct stuff. Right. If you talk to a South African, there's the bride, the meat, the rugby, the you know, going out on the bush, going out on the wild. Those are very distinct South African stuff. For you guys, it's your thick accent, the Caymanian thick accent, the fish fry, the camping during Easter, the bobo. Those are very distinct Caymanian stuff. But for expat kids here, they don't get very distinct of anything. You know what I mean? There's the environment and there's the home. I have to be very intentional when it comes to Cuban and South African culture to make my kids feel like their identity is half Cuban, half South African. But they're growing up in Cayman. So I try to take them to Dreamchasers and they learn quadrille. But I try to take them to East End to get fish fry or oxtail. Or I take them to the Badabanu Kids Carnival, right? But they're not really getting the Caymanian culture that a Caymanian child could have. So they are, which is beautiful because they're very aware of diversity. They're very welcoming with that other person culture, but at the same time, they're not grounded in any of the cultures that they're surrounded with. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's a very interesting phenomenon, actually. And I think that's something that probably happened more recently in Cayman's history, where you have all these kids that are born of expats that live here, and then they sort of like, what's their identity? Yeah. I like to think that they're Caymanian. That's just me personally. I don't know, but maybe not everyone agrees with that. But
I mean, if you ask me where I'm from, I'm from Cuba. Mom and dad are from Cuba. If you ask my husband, he would say, I'm South African. My mom is from Taiwan, but I'm South African. Here in Cayman, given that when you're born here, you're not Caymanian, like legally. Are you from where your family is from, or are you from where you were born, from where you grew up? Because if you ask my kids, they'll be like, okay, do you have time? So my mom is Cuban, my mom is South African. I grew up in the Cayman Islands, you know? So, yeah. And I am very into, I mean, you know that I am a linguist and I am very into languages.
Yeah, I wanted to talk to you about that. Yeah, you're doing a lot more posting about that recently.
A lot more.
Yeah.
I mean, I finally have some time getting out of the late night feeding babies and diapers constantly. So they're growing, they're going to school, so it's easier now to you know, start talking a bit more about it. And the reason why I'm doing it is because languages are dying. Not only here in Cayman, everywhere when there's immigration, you kind of, if you're not very intentional about keeping your language alive, it will die.
So, like, what do you mean languages are dying, though?
So, I mean, statistically, languages are dying.
Okay.
Right? In like 50 years, almost 90% of the languages that they are
have
right
existed
now
on Earth will cease to exist.
Yes,
interesting.
Exactly. And if you look, there's this.
Is that like a globalization thing, or the reasons for that, or like
everyone is trying to fit in, right? And it's difficult to raise bilingual kids. So if you think about it, there's this third generation phenomenon that we studied in the bilingualism world, that it says that most likely by the third generation, your language will die. But when I say third generation, I'm talking about my children, because you count from my mother that was born in Cuba and her first language is Spanish, right? Then I was born in Cuba. My first language is Spanish, but I immigrated to the Cayman Islands. Now my kids are the third generation. They're growing up with English as their first language, and it's up to me if they speak Spanish or not.
Right, because if not, they won't.
They won't,
right.
Exactly. And this is what's happening. Parents are talking to their kids in their first language. Cool, that's the easy part. The hard part is for that child to respond back to you in your language.
Right. That is the hard part.
That is the hard part.
So tell me about that. Like, how do you do it in your household, right? Like, what's the language that you speak?
We make it non-negotiable. And whenever I say non-negotiable, you would see, oh my God, I will never force my language on my child. I'm like, you know, all these, which I am very on board with it as well, the gentle parenting community, like you have to respect the child's wishes and decisions and respect what they think, right? But if your child says to you, I'm not going to school tomorrow. What happens there? Right? Because school is non-negotiable.
Right.
If they say, you know what, I am having ice cream for dinner from now on. I'm having ice cream for dinner. Look at how you laugh. Or how will you react if you say, if you go into a place and they ask for something like magic words, manners. Excuse me, good morning.
And they're like, nah, no more manners.
I'm not going to say that anymore. You know, how do you react to that?
Right.
So that is non-negotiable. Am I flexible if my child is having a hard day and he doesn't want to go to school that day? Of course, he'll stay home. If there's one day that he's being sick and he's finally eating and he just really wants some ice cream, and I'm going to give it to him.
No.
Yeah. You know,
probably
I will, right? And if one day he forgets or is a little bit shy or like, you say, please, mommy, you know, that's part of the learning process. But this is still non-negotiable.
So wait, what language do you all speak at home then?
So I only speak to them in Spanish. They only speak to me in Spanish, and then they speak English to their dad. And their dad is learning Spanish
as well
as we go with them.
Right,
you know?
He has, So you speak Spanish to them, and they speak English to him.
Yeah.
Okay. But what about the South African language?
So there are 11 official languages in South Africa.
Wow.
Well, 12 now because of sign language.
Okay.
But spoken ones are 11. And my husband's first language is English. Okay. So that would be his first language, right? My husband,
so like
thank God. But we would do exactly the same. If there was a case, there are a lot of Afrikaans on island, for example, and their language is Afrikaans. I have very good friends that they speak Afrikaans. This is how I would do it. Only Spanish to me, only Afrikaans to daddy, and you learn English outside. In the school, in the community, with your friends. Regardless of what we do, English will become their first language.
Yes, that will for sure. So is that hard? That seems hard.
It is. It is hard. It takes a lot of intentionality to keep your language alive. Right. A lot of it, because you will go through days where speaking English is just easier.
Yeah.
When you're tired or when it's not my case, because you know me, but people feel judged as well. You go out, you're at the supermarket, and here in Cayman, that doesn't happen. I mean, we have such a huge, so many languages around that you hear them all over the place. But there are other places where you are the only one speaking that language in your community. And you go out to the supermarket and people will be like, that's disrespectful. Like, oh. Why aren't you speaking in my language, in our language, the community language, right? And you have to be very strict when it comes to the boundaries. I always say to parents, you translate for the other person, don't translate for your child. So you keep, in my case, I keep Spanish to my kids. And if you are there, I would say to you, oh, we're talking about X, Y, and Z. Let's say that you are not part of the conversation, right? You're not part of the conversation, but you are there. And I will tell you, oh, by the way, what we're talking about is this, this, and this. If you are part of the conversation, I will switch to English for the time being, for that conversation, and then I will go back to Spanish. But it's so difficult for me to speak in English to my kids. My brain is wired, is neurologically wired to speak in Spanish to them. My tongue, when it comes to English to my kids, because it's very similar to when you're a teenager. You know exactly how to speak to your friends, and you know exactly how to speak to your teacher, and you know exactly how to speak to your parents or grandparents. It's exactly the same.
It's different.
Exactly. You don't think about it. You don't say, oh, now once I open the door, once I open the door, I need to talk to my parents respectfully. And then when I'm out and about with my friends, you know, whatever. You don't do that. I don't go, from now on, I'm going to speak Spanish to my kids. My brain just does it automatically, unconsciously. And I created a method that is, there are a lot of methods out there to raise bilingual kids. One parent, one language, which is what Kev and I do. He does English, I do Spanish.
One parent, one language.
One parent, one language. Okay. And minority language at home. Let's say that Let's say that I would speak Spanish at home, or the African community, both parents speak Afrikaans, the minority language, so the majority language is English, but the minority language is the home language, right? But when we are out, we speak English because that's the community language. So minority language at home, or time and place, let's say that while we are bath time or story time, it's always Spanish, it's always my language during that specific activity. Time I place, minority language at home, one parent, one language. And those methods, I thought I knew a lot about bilingualism until I had my child, right? Why?
What did you learn?
Because I learned that it's hard. It didn't matter how much I knew about languages, about linguistic. First of all, so there are a lot of things that led me to this point. Kev, his mom is from Taiwan, right?
Does she speak English?
She speaks English, but her first language is Mandarin, right? I met him in March. In May, it was Mother's Day. He calls his grandmother in Taiwan. And the conversation lasted less than 2 minutes. Imagine calling your grandmother for Mother's Day and not being able to speak to her. And I didn't realize that he wasn't able to speak to her until he had to hang up. And he looked at me and said, oh yeah, I can't really speak to her if my mom is not around, translating for us. And I went like, imagine not being able to speak to your grandma. Coming from Cuba, where absolutely everyone speaks Spanish, you would never think that that's a thing outside of Cuba.
So you thought about your kids at that point then, right? And you're like,
you know me very well. I was like, if this goes well, he speaks English. We live in Cayman.
They're not going to be able to speak.
My mom doesn't speak a word of English. If they don't speak Spanish, how are they going to communicate? This can happen to me.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting.
And then I was teaching Spanish at government schools here in Cayman. And I had a lot of students coming from Cuba, Dominican Republic, Honduras, all of them, right? They would get there, and I had two different type of students. The ones that grew up here, they will understand Spanish, but they wouldn't speak it, right? Or the ones that came without knowing English. That first school year, they were like next to me, attached to me all the time. I was their safe space because I was the only one that could understand them.
And speak to them.
Within one school year, they didn't want to speak in Spanish. That's how crazy kids can absorb languages. Parents get here and they're like, oh, I need to stop speaking my language at home so they can learn English faster.
The kids gonna learn.
And I'm like, no, English is going to destroy your language. Do not, no, avoid, protect.
English is going to destroy
it. It's going to destroy, it does. It does. That's what it does.
Well, there's this amazing phenomenon called network effects, and they talk about it a lot with like digital networks like Facebook and Instagram, and it's always like, you know, Google is always like the platform that achieves network effects that spreads everywhere is kind of the one that's going to dominate. There's not going to be a Facebook 2, there's not going to be an Instagram 2.
Exactly, there's just one.
And so like English has right now, it's like stretching its tentacles. So it can, like you're saying, other languages are collapsing probably because English is spreading. I know Spanish has a big network effect as well. So very interesting what you're saying.
But here on island specifically, even though there are so many languages, you still hear English everywhere, right? You have to, you need to. It's so funny because you go to any supermarket and you might have no idea that the person catching you out speaks Spanish like you. And you are there struggling with your English, both of you, until one of you realizes you need the name tag. You're like, oh, Larissa, that name sounds,
That's true, actually.
You
know
what
happens.
I mean? Yeah. Or you have a lot of friends from like Brazil, Italy, France, different, and Spanish. And even though none of us, our first language is English, we have to communicate in English because you have Italian, you have French, you have Portuguese, and you have Spanish. Right. And even though English is not there, that's the one that we have to use.
That's the one that you have to use to communicate.
So when I had Leo, I was like, okay, I'm ready. I'm like 5 years studying linguistics. I did a postgraduate degree in education. I've been teaching Spanish for 10 years in Cayman. I got this. And my kid goes to school. Shakespeare came out of that place. I was like, what are you doing? Talk to me in Spanish. And I had to start finding the way to not force it, but to make it non-negotiable, right? And the very first thing is intentionality. I have to be very intentional with wanting him or them to speak English. And for me, my language was as important as education, as nutrition, as manners. So I would put the same amount of intentionality that I put to every single thing into my language. And I realized that even though parents want the kids to learn and speak their languages, they didn't know how to. Because you say, okay, OPOL, one person, one language. It tells you who the child has to speak the language to. That's pretty much it. Minority language at home. You know where the child has to speak the language. And then time and place. You know when, but how do you do it?
Well, yeah,
now you know when and where,
right,
and with whom. But
so talk to me about
how do you do it?
How does that come into
So
play?
I come up with these 3 words: CEN, consistency, exposure, and need. You need to be consistent. That's when the intentionality comes from. If you only speak to your child during bath time, he will only know soap, water. Those are the words that your child is going to learn, right? You need to be consistent. Like, I am not teaching Spanish to my kids. I'm being me in Spanish with my kids. I'm raising them in Spanish. I don't think about when I have to speak in Spanish. I just speak in Spanish. It's my first language. So I'm consistent when it comes to that. Exposure. Everything that is related to Spanish culture. Tongue twisters, slang, sayings, songs, music.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. So
everything that comes with the language. And it doesn't matter if it's like from Cuba, from Mexico, from Argentina, from Spain, from Puerto Rico. Anything and everything in Spanish, they'll do it. Flamenco, tongue twisters. Like, there's a very, very funny tongue twister that I put out there of Nandi trying to say Pablito, which is little Pablo, clavó un clavito, nailed a nail, right? But she say lavó, which is washed, right? So she's saying Pablito washed a nail, which makes no sense. But by teaching her the tongue twister, as a linguist, I'm teaching her pronunciation, how to place her mouth when it comes to Spanish sounds. But for her, it's laughter. This is so fun. Funny. This is so. My mom is cracking here laughing because I'm saying a word wrong. This is so.
Pablito clavó un clavito.
Yeah, there we go.
That's funny.
Exactly like that.
But that, you really make those kids so powerful to be able to know those languages like that.
Yeah,
that's
of course.
Especially English and Spanish,
especially English and Spanish and Mandarin. Imagine if my kids learn their grandmother's language.
Yeah, that's like the top 3 right there.
That's the top 3. So the third complement would be consistency, exposure, and the third one is need.
Okay, what's that one?
They need to use the language because then they'll become passive bilingual.
But so what does that mean? Take them to Cuba?
Well, that's one thing.
Because you don't need to use the language in Cayman.
Or with me, you do. With me, you do. You do. Of course, you do. Of course, they do to speak. Yeah. I create the need. Like, people, like, in this bilingual world on social media, you hear a lot of, don't ask them to say it in Spanish. Why? Like, my kids, unconsciously, they default to English. And when I say in Spanish, which I say in Spanish, I say en español. Sí, mami, esto es lo que queremos decirte. And it's like saying, manners, please. It's exactly the same, right? Mommy, I want water. Manners, please. Oh, can you give me some water, please? You are guiding them through what you want from them when it comes to languages. And parents think that they have to go and buy Spanish textbook and flashcards. And when I say Spanish, I'm talking from my family perspective, but this applies to any language combination, right? Like, parents don't have the time to teach their language to the kids. They don't have the time. They just have to be themselves in the language. For example, there are certain techniques that I use to get Spanish out of my kids very easily. For example, I know they're thirsty, right? And instead of saying, ¿Quieres agua? Do you want water? I say, ¿Quieres agua o leche? Do you want milk or do you want water?
What does that do? I don't get it.
What they does is that they have to use a word that I'm giving them. Because if I say, ¿Quieres agua? They can say, yeah.
Sí. Right.
They can go like,
yeah.
I'm not creating the need for them to use a Spanish word. But if I say, do you want water or do you want milk? Then you have to choose.
You have to answer.
You have to choose, right? So
like
there are certain techniques when it comes to creating the need. Like, in Spanish.
So are you like writing a book or something? Like, what is this? This is like a thing I haven't really heard about. This is why I wanted to talk to you. I see you posting about it.
Yes.
And it's very interesting. And yeah, so, and also I want to know what his feelings are like in all this. Yeah. Because I'm assuming, I don't know, that his Spanish isn't as good as yours.
Oh, of course.
And the kids probably.
Yeah.
Is it? Or
No,
so what's
it's
it
not.
like for him then if he's not really understanding what you guys are saying?
So for him, so let me
Yes.
respond to the first
Yeah.
question. What I am doing is I am trying to create an online center for multilingual families.
Cool.
There's so much that comes in when it comes to bilingualism, because when you sell, I don't know, sunglasses, let's say, it's sunny outside. Do you like them? Take them. That's my business. I'm just selling you this. And then instantly you have the solution because it's sunny outside.
Right.
But when it comes to raising bilingual kids, you face a lot of different challenges throughout their lives. So it's not a one thing will fix your problem. So I think parents need a place where they can just get there at any stage of this process and find the help, the guidance, and the answers that they look for. So I'm creating an online center for multilingual families where they're gonna have workshops and meetups and Q&As and very specific type of techniques like choice questions with your kids or be consistent. You go to sleep tonight, and this is not a marathon. This is not a sprint. This is a marathon.
Sure.
It takes forever. But the 1% that you did today will count for tomorrow's success.
Right.
And when you
every little bit counts.
every little bit counts.
A little bit goes a long way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, were you consistent today? Did you try to speak in your language the entire day? Do you expose them to one song in your language, to one
Movie
in your language? Everything that we watch in our house is in Spanish, and Kev reads subtitles. Yeah.
Sorry, bro. You gotta read the subtitles.
and do you create the need? Do you get any Spanish or in your language word out of them today? That's what I'm trying to create, because you have very specific resources for like very specific problems. Also, not everyone is raising the same bilingual child. I am raising a bilingual child, but it is my first language.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you. Is if what you're building transferable across different languages? If there's like maybe a different language that's
absolutely,
absolutely,
because those are techniques that work with any language combination. What I was trying to say is, I'm working right now with a mom that she is from here, right? But she knows Spanish because she went to university in Spain. And she's really interested in her son learning Spanish.
Sure.
But that is not her first language. So the challenges, everything is different. The resources, the challenges, how much you the intentionality, the expectation is also different. For her, if her child doesn't speak Spanish at the end of the day, nothing terribly happens.
Right.
You know, you just missed any opportunity to learn a different language, but that's it. But if my children end up not speaking my language, there's an entire family that
they won't
literally
be able to speak to.
Exactly. They kind of become apart from their family, from the culture, from the history, from the country. So it's not the same what is at stake. So what I'm trying to put out there is, because the bilingualism world is very general.
Sure.
The advice is for everyone.
Yeah.
And it is not the same to raise my child with my second language than with my first one, because I really need my child to communicate with my mom. It is not the same thing, right? And that's the reason why it's so important for Kev to support me through this.
And I know he gets it, right? Like, you definitely want your kids to be able to speak multiple languages. But
Definitely.
what's it like for him in the house? Is he like...
He's so used to it.
Right.
He's very used to it. But he's also...
Is he inconvenienced at all?
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. We have never had a moment where he has said, oh, can you... Well,
I wish we didn't have to do this or something.
Oh,
like
no,
that.
never. There have been, we have been together for 11 years now. Like, I am so used to him being there. Even when we are in Cuba, it's like 30 Cubans and Kev. You know? And he's also very used to it. Sometimes we are in Cuba, or my family is here in Cayman. My mom, my dad, my sister, myself, and we're all in Spanish.
I love that you said 30 Cubans. And
Kev.
it's literally 30.
Yeah, you know. And sometimes we are here and we have like Cuban friends come, like even here in Cayman, and we have Cuban friends coming to the house and the kids speak Spanish. They understand everything in Spanish, and we're like, everything in Spanish. And we look at Kev like, and he goes like, can you translate that for me? But that is just like outside of the raising the kids. He has never been like, oh, I don't understand what you're saying, or like, it's very funny because, like I say, your brain just wires to be comfortable in the, like, we are scolding them, and Kev is scolding them in English, and I'm scolding them in Spanish. Like, and the kids are like, yeah, sí, mommy, no, but, oh, yeah, but he started first. Mommy, no, sí, yo. Yeah.
That's cute.
You know, and you just get used to it. There's no confusion. There's no, obviously, Kev and I, we have the most beautiful relationship. Like, I would never say anything to the kids in Spanish that I wouldn't want Kev to know. You know what I mean? Like, he knows I would never do that. But one thing that Kev was also a bilingual child. And like I said, he ended up not speaking his mom's language. So he's kind of like this is not a word that I like to use, but he's like a failed attempt to being able to speak your family's language.
But then he understands the importance of it, right? So that's why he's on board with it.
Obviously. And you know, after I started using his story to, you know, reach more people, because when people can resonate with that pain, you are like, oh, that can happen to me, right? I think I would have always taught my kids Spanish, always. But knowing that their dad ended up not speaking his mom's and his grandmother and his family from Taiwan's language, and what that meant for him, that he always needed a translator he always needed someone there when he needed to speak to his grandma. Can you believe, like, think about your relationship to your grandparents. Imagine having, like, or needing another person always there translating. It's difficult. And when I started using the story, it kind of like made him uncomfortable. It made him like realize how sad the situation actually was, right? And like all the missed connection and opportunities, and the relationship was damaged because of the barrier that the language can be. Definitely. You know what I mean? Like,
it is. Huh. That's fascinating. Wow. So how good is Leo's Spanish?
So Leo, in Spanish, we don't say Leo, we say Leo.
And I'm glad you said that, Leo, because in English, I'm sure everybody in Cayman calls you Gema. Right, but of course I learned it's Gema,
what it means.
But I didn't actually learn that till we went to Cuba and filmed the movie.
And you know what it means?
Yes, I wanted to remind me again, because I was trying to remember before you came out there. I was like, what is it again?
It means egg yolk.
Yeah, but there's the phrase. There's Gema.
But I was
no. Hold on, but there's the egg yolk and then there's the white. Gema y blanco.
No, Gema y clara.
Yeah, that's what it is. So wait, it's Gema or Gema?
Gema. Which is my name in Cayman.
Gema. In Cayman.
Yeah.
But in Cuba, it's Gema y claro.
Gema y clara.
Gema y clara.
It's like a female clear. Clara.
Yes.
Clara.
Right,
so it's like Gema, which is the yellow part, and clara
is the white part of the egg.
Which is the white part of the egg. Right. And growing up, I wouldn't say bullied. Like, bullying in Cuba it's not the same as you see in the movies and like in the real world now, right? In Cuba was completely different. It was more about like teasing you with like nicknames and whatever. And you got over it very quick.
So the yellow is Gema
always
as well.
With me.
Interesting.
But they will call me Gema de huevo. And I hated it. Gema de huevo. And I got here to Cayman and I'm like, hi, my name is Gema. So I would introduce myself as egg yolk. And no one calls me Gema in Cuba. Everyone calls me Gema, which is my name. Goodness. And Leo is trouble. Leo is trouble in Spanish.
That's what that word means?
It means trouble.
I didn't know that.
I don't know in other countries. I would think that they probably recognize the word, but it's like trouble, problem. Oh, tengo un lío. I have a big problem. So Leo is trouble.
Interesting.
You know, there's a very when we had Leo. Kev is Leo, as in like the zodiac sign.
Right.
And he goes like, oh, should we name him Leo?
Right.
And I'm like, why? He knows I'm very into like the meaning behind everything, right? My name
Linguist.
My name is Gema because my dad's name is Gerard, and my mom's name is Madeline.
Oh,
so
cool.
Gema. Yeah,
cool.
that's why the name is Gema. And also means gem, like the precious stone and whatever, right? And Kev goes, because I know that he knows that I need a meaning. And he goes, oh, because I'm a Leo. And I'm like, I'm a Scorpio. We're not naming our child Scorpio just because I am Scorpio.
Okay.
So say more if you want that name.
Convince me.
Yeah. And he was like, oh, because I'm from South Africa and the lion is the king of the jungle. And I was like, I was like, with one condition. If we say Leo and not Leo, he's like,
deal?
Okay, deal. We got
cool.
it.
That's awesome.
And let me continue.
Uh-huh.
So Nandi, Kev proposed in South Africa. And Nandi is the place of the is the name of the waterfalls that he proposed, Nandi's Falls. And that is the mother of Chaka Zulu's mother. His mother's name, Chaka Zulu is one of the greatest Zulu kings in South Africa. Okay. His mother's name was Nandi, and that's the reason why that place is called Nandi's Falls. But then Rio is the third one. It means river. Remember I told you that we put yellow flowers in the ocean because we don't have rivers in Cayman. So he's a river in Cayman.
Cool.
Rio.
I love that.
So it was because he's our third one and we didn't have a name. I was like, it's getting close and we don't have a name. And we went to, and it was Kev actually. We went to a friend's house and she said, she has 3 daughters. And she said, my daughter's name and so. And for short, we called the little one Rio. And I was like, cool. And Kev goes like, that's the name. And I'm like, what name? He's like, Rio. And I'm like, what? He's like, doesn't that mean river in Spanish? I'm like, yeah. So he's like, we don't have rivers in Cayman. He could be a river in Cayman, and he got my heart with that. So it was actually him.
I love that he's the one that's seeing the names.
Thinking about the meaning and the Spanish and
So they weren't mad that you went with Rio?
Not really. No. And I did tell her later on. I was like, remember that night that you told me, and for short we call her Rio. Then we decided, and she was very happy. Yeah. She was. Nice. I'm not appropriating. I'm honoring. I'm honoring her daughter's name.
I love that. That's such a better way of looking at things.
Of course, man. So much.
I'm honoring the Cuban culture.
Yeah.
When I was in Cuba, I'll never forget, I was taking a taxi cab home, and I can't remember, like, maybe we were out that night partying or whatever, and we were going home, and the taxi guy was like, you're more Cuban than Cubans. And I was so proud. I was like, yes.
Yeah. And we actually, in Cuba, we love that. Seeing people being so Cuban, wanting to be Cuban, that is something that we are happy with. Like, we did it. We injected you with a Cuban little virus that we love to have.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that is, like, why would I be upset as long as you respect it? Just right now, I say Cayman, and then I immediately rectify, and I say Cayman.
And we love when people say Cayman.
Exactly.
Yes, we love that.
Because I know that is a form of respect. You guys are always saying, it's not Cayman, it's Cayman. And if it is Cayman, why would I say it differently? You know what I mean? Like, it's not only about honoring, it's also about respecting. And if I respect your culture, why can I not love it as well, right? Why is that a bad thing? Why can I not be a part of it and like grow with it and just honor it and not appropriate or whatever they call it? You know what I mean?
Yes, I love that. That whole appropriation thing is just like, I don't know, it just strikes me as...
Yeah.
It's like you're not allowed to do this because you're not that.
Yes.
It's like, ugh, get over
I
it.
I know. But yeah, very excited about the whole bilingualism thing. I am getting a lot of very positive feedback and a lot of people saying, oh, wow, watching your videos is making me realize how important my language actually is. I didn't think, I had a very interesting conversation with a Filipino mom. And
oh, that's true,
yes.
right? There's going to be a lot of like, Filipino kids.
And she said, so my husband speaks Spanish. So she's very into bilingualism. She said, my husband speaks Spanish and he's from Mexico, but I speak Tagalog. But because we learn English in the Philippines and everyone learns English,
that's true.
I didn't realize how important it was to teach Tagalog to my child.
Because they're not going to learn it.
Why? Only watching your videos is like when you, because it's your life story, you would think that everyone is aware of that. Everyone is aware that it's difficult. Everyone is aware that you need to guide them through the language. Everyone is aware that they might understand it but not speak it. Everyone is aware. You think everyone is aware. You're like, obviously, but until you don't go out there and put yourself in the, in front of the camera and go like, do it. It's important. It's difficult, but it's worth it. Then you don't realize that they need that. They need those words. They need someone walking this difficult path with them. And they also need someone saying it in English, even though it's not my first language, because they see it as being brave, I guess. I have gotten a couple of like, oh, that's not how you say that word, like making fun of my accent and whatever. And I'm like, it's more important for me that the message goes to more people, because I could say it in Spanish. I could, and just help the Spanish and whatever other language combination community I would be helping. But if I said in English, it will reach more people. That's why I'm doing it in English. And like I said, you have French, Italian, Portuguese. If I said in Spanish, none of them will understand. But if I said in English, and everything started with Cayman. Everything started at this level where I was like, guys, please, 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 talk to your kids in your language. It doesn't matter if we are in a play date. I don't mind. I like if you speak to your child in your language, I'll understand it because I'm also speaking to my child in my language. I won't find it disrespectful. If you don't make it important, they won't see it as important. And the consequences, you don't see them now. The consequences, you see them when you fly back home for the holidays, and they're not able to play with cousins, and they're not able to go to talk to grandma, to cook with grandpa. You know what I mean?
Well, my wife is Serbian, and she always said, well, the kids are going to learn Serbian, the kids are going to learn. So she's going to love this conversation because for her it's super important. And it's important because of what you're saying, is that her mom doesn't speak English, right? And so she doesn't want her kids not being able to speak to her mom, right?
Imagine.
And I know because I can't speak to her mom.
Yeah.
Thankfully, there's ChatGPT and, Google, whatever.
But imagine that with your very young child, Like, for you, it's your mother-in-law, right? It's difficult, but it's your mother-in-law. And for your wife, she'll be like, we either teach you Serbian or she learns more English or we just use more ChatGPT. Those are the three solutions. That's it. Or we have it always available. Those are the three solutions. Yeah. But imagine having those solutions for your child. You're like, how in the world I cannot leave my child with my mom, with his or her grandma,
and they can't
on their own. They can't communicate. I was just now in Cuba, and my grandma, she was making it's pudding. So it's very similar to flan, but we use bread. And she just sat down on the table, and she was just like, pieces of bread. And Nandi just approached her because she loves to cook and that. And I got my phone out, and I was like, I'm about to show parents raising bilingual kids why it's important for them to speak the language. Nandi wasn't scared of going.
And how old is Nandi?
She's 4.
Okay.
Nandi wasn't scared of like going to grandma to ask her, what are you doing? Can I help you? And she didn't need me. Because kids don't think, oh, let me call my mom to translate for me. Especially not at 4 years old. Kids will be like, oh, I can't speak to that person. I'm not going there.
And that's the end of the story.
And that's the end of the story.
Yeah.
So what went through part of the story as them cooking together, it wouldn't have happened, non-existent, if Nandi didn't speak Spanish, because Nandi won't call me. She's 4. She won't click. I need my mom to translate for me, to ask this person that is my great grandmother what she's doing. Oh. She doesn't go through that, through those thoughts. She was just playing, and she looked to the table and she's like, oh, she's doing something interesting. She stopped. She just walked there. And I was like,
what are you doing?
Exactly. What are you doing? ¿Qué estás haciendo? No. Why are you doing that with the bread? And then my grandma, without even thinking about it, because it should come naturally. My grandma didn't look at me to be like, oh, can you tell her that this is bread and I'm doing this and this. My grandma just went like, oh, bread, I'm making a pudding. Do you want to help me?
Yeah, that's a good moment. That's a nice
exactly.
moment. Yeah.
You know one thing, I always say create the need, right? In Cuba, we still have landlines.
Yes, I remember that. You can hear phones ringing in other houses. Like not even your house, but the next house.
Yeah.
Like, is someone going to answer that?
You don't realize things
all
from your
those
own
cool
country.
Stuff in Cuba, like you just
from your own country until someone points out, and they're like, "Yeah, that's right." You walk down the street, you hear phones ringing, and you don't even know where.
Legit.
So whenever the phone rang, I made my kids go to pick up the phone. So I'm creating the need for them to speak it, because the person on the other side of the phone obviously didn't speak English. Right. So it was like we say oigo in Cuba. We don't say hola, we don't say hello, we say oigo, which is like I'm listening, kind of. It's like the little translation. And be like, oigo, sí, mi mamá, and I'm like, it's happening. Oh. They're communicating in Spanish, right? Like, and I don't even know what the other person is saying, but the other person is understanding them, and that's such a big thing when you land back here in Ireland, and they just go like, oh hi, can we go to Burger King, please? And like all this, English accent comes out. Yeah, so it's very important.
You made me think about something actually with the landline. What's interesting about that the landline situation and you getting your kid to answer it is that the landline was always like a public phone in the house.
Oh yeah.
Like, it could be anyone's call, anyone can pick it up. But with cell phones it's different, right? It's like your phone.
It's always for you.
Yeah, it's always for you.
Yeah.
Interesting. But like that, I never quite thought about that. But like the when that phone rings, it's like pick it up. Yeah. You pick it up, or I'm doing something.
No,
and it's for you. Well, it's for you.
Dad. There was one moment that they say, Pepa, that's how they call my grandma. And I was like, they just say, I need to talk to. And the fact that they knew that they went through that's part of that's exposure. Yeah. Right? That's part of who Cubans are. You don't see that in a lot of places in the world. No. The landline situation. Yeah. You don't see it. Yeah. And there's a second thing. So in Cuba, in some houses, there's no phone, like no landline. So what we do is our neighbor will give us a cable.
Yes, I remember seeing that too.
Yeah. And we will have a second phone, right? And we will have to wait. If the phone rings twice, stops, and rings again, that's for your house.
Interesting.
That's the second house. Right. But if the phone rings continuously as it's supposed to do, that's for the main house. Yeah.
Fascinating.
So those type of things, how do you explain that in English? You know what? Now that I say, how do you explain that in English? And you will understand this because you also know Spanish. So we're talking about fish in our house. Sometimes they have these, old babies have these flashcards with like fish and bear and whatever else, right? And sometimes I just like throw them on the floor and I make them run. Who can find me a dog? And they run and they get the dog. And it was the fish time. They get the fish and I say, because we do all of this in Spanish, right? It's always in Spanish. And then I say, ¿Quién encuentra, who can find, un pez, right? And they run. And I think Leo went, Mami, es pescado.
Interesting.
Es pescado.
Yeah, that's the same thing I thought when you just said that.
And I was like, no, Leo. Pez es cuando el pez está vivo. It's when the fish is alive.
Really? I didn't know that. Huh.
But and you might not laugh at all because you need to, well, you speak Spanish, you'll understand. Let's say pez es cuando está vivo, alive. But when está muerto, is pez And I thought he was going to say, cado. And he's like, and I say pez, and he goes like, muerto. So like, vivo es pez, and muerto is pez, and he goes, muerto, dead fish, duh. And I'm like, no, it's pescado.
Don't ask.
Because it's like, it has been caught, pescado. So it comes from pescar to fish.
True.
It's like, how would you say, you know, like, get caught? How would you say that with fishing?
Right.
Is there a word in English for that?
Hooked? What do you mean get cut? Like
yes. But hooked is it comes from hook. Is there any word that comes from fish?
Fish to fish. No, I
No,
don't think so.
Right?
Yeah.
You caught the fish, but in Spanish you do have the word, the participio, the coming from pescar.
Right.
So pescar is to fish, pez is the fish, and then pescado is like I just got it out of the water by the action of pescar, of fishing. Yeah. So obviously, none of that was explained at the time of the game. But I was like, how do you call a dead fish? I'm like, pez is like muerto, dead fish. Why would you say pescado? Like, that doesn't even make sense, right? They have the cutest Spanglish things. Leo would say things like... oh my gosh! I actually have I have to show.
Get it, and I want to check the camera because the last podcast it cut out of me, so I'm like super.
Okay,
like,
go.
Yeah,
I have to show you. Yeah.
We're good.
Yeah, I need to show you. So these are Leo, and you will understand because you understand Spanish a lot, like.
So you've written down all of this Spanglish stuff?
I write it.
Wow.
So Leo, for example, things that you will understand. Hay hambre. Like I'm hungry, but he would use the hambre, which is hay hambre. Or who cuídame? Who's gonna look after me? Who cuídame? Here.
Who cuídame?
Who cuídame?
Cute.
We already hablar. We already spoke, mommy. Like we already hablar.
¿Dónde está yo?
¿Dónde está yo? But that's Spanish. Oh, this one. Leo, di pelota, ball. He keeps doing it. To this day, he won't say pelota. He says ball.
Okay.
He's kind of like, that's my word. You're not going to change it to Spanish.
That's funny. Ball. I mean, that's just so simple. It's like ball.
Yeah.
3 syllables.
Oh, I love this one. They say sombrella.
That's cute.
Because it's sombrilla plus umbrella. Sombrilla in Spanish and umbrella. Sombrella. And now, because we don't really use a lot of umbrellas in Cayman, it doesn't really, my sister would say yes, but it doesn't really rain that much.
Yes. Only this month.
Depending on where you work, that too.
Where? In Cayman, you mean?
Yes,
that's
in
so
Cayman.
Crazy. That's true.
Depending
it just
on
rains
where
in
you
certain
work.
spots sometimes.
I worked for 11 years in West Bay. It doesn't rain there. I'm sorry.
That's true. It'll rain on West Bay Road, but not West Bay.
My sister, exactly. Yeah. When you go deep West Bay, it doesn't rain there. My sister go to this island, and you know, one of those costume runs, things that I need to live here. And she goes like, let me get an umbrella. I'm like, that's not right here. You don't need an umbrella. But she works by the baby shop. She used to work, and it rained there every single day. And she would send me a picture soaking wet. And be like, you say that I don't need an umbrella. And I would send her a picture from West Bay. Like,
it's like hot sun,
clear
dry.
sky. You don't need an umbrella here. But because we don't use that word that much, I became so accustomed to say sombrella. Not to say it, but I hear it from them. Sombrella, that now I have to think twice. And I don't know if
You're even confusing me a little bit.
I feel like umbrella is too naked. Like something is missing.
Funny.
You know, and then that umbrella is a funny one as well. Yeah. It's very interesting to live with kids that are learning more than one language. It's very funny as well. The things that they would say.
That's so cute. That's super cute.
So Serbia.
Yeah, man.
In Serbian, what do you know? Any word?
So I downloaded Ling, which is like, I don't know, what's the other famous app that everyone uses?
Like Duolingo.
Yes,
Jeff
exactly.
also uses Ling.
And it's cool because, I'm doing it. I'm like acing I know that word, boom, boom, boom.
Until you have the need to speak it.
Until you have the need to speak it. And I'm just like, you might as well tie my tongue into a knot.
Yeah.
Because I got nothing.
Yeah. The reason why the parts of the brain that are in charge of comprehension and speech are disconnected, are completely different.
Interesting.
And because you are being exposed through comprehension to Serbian, through the app, you are, the input is always there. But if you are not...
The output's a different thing.
If the need is not created, if you go to Serbia, you will see how your words will be coming out, because you have the need to speak it.
So I've been twice, but I only really started trying to learn the second time when I come back. So, I'm looking forward to the next time I go back. But it's
remember this
tough.
Because it doesn't only apply to raising bilingual kids. If you want to learn anything in life, you need consistency. You need to be exposed to it,
and you need the need. Yeah, the need is the need, and in Serbia you need the need because you can't speak. You need the need. It's everyone speaks Serbian, so it's like you can't even read because it's in Serbian.
It's completely
But what's interesting, what you just said, is what I noticed, and my wife would laugh at me sometimes, is that in Serbia, I would respond in Spanish a lot of the times.
Of course.
And I don't know why that is.
The reason is because your brain knows that... So it's like, imagine your brain creates different rooms per language, right? And because your brain knows that you know Spanish, he's like, if he's not using English,
it's got to be that
room. But then out of nowhere, you're in Serbia, and your brain is like... Must be in this room, isn't it? If you're not speaking in English, it must be in this room.
It happens
the words.
Quite often.
Yes.
Very often. It's just like, I kind of like roll my eyes. I'm like, why did I say that in Spanish?
I know. That's the reation why it happens. Because your brain, if it's not using English, it automatically goes to the other linguistic camp that you have.
Like a room, whatever you want to describe it. You literally have to go somewhere else.
It is.
To like speak Spanish and then
when I say
English
to you...
and Serbian's a whole other room that I just haven't even really...
Exactly. So, remember when I told you about the choice question, for example, right? And why it's important to guide the children when it comes to the language. Let's say that you have the two rooms, right? There's this one little worker in between on your brain doing all the work. When it comes to input, to comprehend, he just needs to get the words, put them in the room. Get the words, put them in the room. That's it. But when you're being asked to say something, he needs to go inside the room, get the right words with the right conjugation, with the right tone, with the right intonation, with the right pronunciation, and then put it together and then say it. Do you know how long it takes? It takes forever.
Yes.
So when you say, do you want water or milk, you're saying to this little guy, I need the word milk. Go and find it. It's not the same thing as what do you want? I know I am thirsty, but it's not water what I want.
Right.
What was the word again? The white thing. What was the word? No. But when you say, do you want water or milk? You just give him a cue, a tip. Go inside the room and find the word. And eventually, it's just easier for him to just go and grab it and put it out.
I like that, because... if you give them the word, then at least they've got the word.
Yeah.
Other than trying to find it out of the blue. Because then you're just like,
and then you just shut down, and kids as well. Not even for kids. That works for you as well, learning Serbian.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't know how to say it, but you have this very oh my God, I've seen this. I know how to say this. Then if it's taking you too long, that you can see the person looking at you, waiting for you to speak, you get self-conscious and you go it's not only kids. Yeah. So when to learn, remember those three words. That's with everything. You want to teach your child to learn how to ride a bicycle. You need to be consistent. You need to take them outside every day after school. You need to expose them. You need to give them the bicycle and be like, this is a bicycle, get on it. If you don't expose them to it, then you need to create the need. Where do we want to go? Now let's pedal. You have to get there. I was talking to a friend not long ago, he speaks like 4 different languages. He's very good with
That's
languages.
like 4 different rooms, and you gotta go into each room.
Yeah, and
crazy.
because he speaks like 4 different languages, he is marrying one of my very good friends. She's Afrikaans, and he picks up Afrikaans so easily because his brain is already trained to learn new languages. It's easier for the brain, right? It's more flexible. And she's always like, oh my God, you're so good with languages and whatever. And he asked me, why is it that I am so good with languages? And I explained to him consistency, exposure, and need. And he plays pickleball, right? And I say, for example, when you started wanting to play pickleball, you were consistent. It's not that you went once a month to the roost. No. You started going like once a week or like twice a week or with your friends. You are consistent. You expose yourself to it. You were there with people that want to learn or know how to play or people that like the game. You probably watched some games and then he say, oh, and the need is to go to the roost. I'm like, no. The need is to get that thing in your hand and to get the ball and to get in the court and be like, let's do it. That's the need. If you don't, put yourself inside the situation, like in the water, if you don't wear your feet, then you're not doing it, right? You will stay on it's like how people know about specific sport very well. You know every single rule about basketball or every single rule about football or baseball. But then you're in the field and you're like, what do I do now? That is to understand the language and to not be able to speak it. It's exactly the same. So you need to be consistent. You need to expose yourself to it, but you need to create the need to do it, to actually do it.
Yeah.
It's very good need. Get your wife to speak to you in Serbian. You will.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of Serbians in Cayman and they speak Serbian to each other. A lot of them. I
have a lot of friends that are from Serbia.
And it's and so like I'll pick up a few words, and some I was in Serbia twice, like for a month each time, and like as the weeks go on, you're like, okay, I'm kind of like I understand
the context. Yeah, exactly, of course.
But it's tough, man. It's hard. Like I don't know why it's so hard to learn a language, but it's just like
because your brain is already fixed.
Yeah.
That's why it's so.
So is it easier
important.
For kids?
100 times. They're not learning a language. They know that mom says it one way and that says it another way. It's not like this is English and this is Spanish.
In their head, they're not even thinking of learning a language.
About it. Right. It's like, for mom, this is gafas. For dad, this is sunglasses. It's the same object, 2 different sounds for me. If I speak to my mommy, I would say this sound. If I speak to my daddy, I would say this sound. And they can recognize those different sounds since they're in the womb. And only once they start like school age is when they come to an understanding that they're speaking different languages. But Nandi, for example, or Rio, for example, they have no clue.
Right. Yeah. But Leo probably knows.
Leo knows.
Yeah,
Leo knows. And now
cool.
Leo knows who speaks what. Right. And like when he goes to Cuba, it's so fun. I feel so proud because people would say to me, and does he speak English as well? I'm like, girl, like way better than this, than whatever he's doing now. Right. Yeah, that's his first language. Right. But yeah, he knows the context, where he has to speak which one. For Rio is whatever comes from you, that's what he's going to mimic. And he's still mixing a lot. He's in the mixing stage where he's just using the word that is just easier for him. If he learned water before agua, he will say water. But if he learned leche, because that's the one that comes more from me before milk, he will say leche. Right, the friend that I told you that she speaks English, but she went to university in Spain. She said that her son only knows jabón, soap, because she uses that word a lot during bath time. She only speaks to her son in Spanish during bath time. And now the kid knows jabón before soap, But it comes to sounds and meanings for them rather than this is English and this is Spanish. And that's why you can teach them 2, 3, 4, 5 languages if they're very young, because they're not learning a language. They're just communicating with the people around them.
It's different.
That's it. And because their brain is so flexible. When you're a child, your brain is like Play-Doh. Like, it's very flexible. Whatever you put in there, it will stay there. And if you put more words, their hippocampus just grows a little bit more and just grows a little bit more. And then it just adapts and adapts. And if you give me more, I'll take more. But then they reach an age around 5 to 7 years old when that sticks and fixed in place. And then from there, it's more difficult to teach the language. And that's another thing, that there are parents that come to me and like, is it too late? Is it too late? And I'm like, how many more years would you have them at home? 15 more years. You think it's too late? Of course it's not. Those 15 years will pass regardless. So teach them the language. Bring it back. Keep the culture alive.
Yeah, that's how I feel about Bitcoin. People ask me, is it too late? I'm like, no. It's not too late. It's going to be there for the rest of your life.
Exactly.
So you might as well start now.
And remember when we were talking about probabilities, the more you do it, the probabilities of it happening and you succeeding at it increases, right? Like, let's say that I start teaching my child Spanish. Let's say I never spoke to them in Spanish, and I will start now. Oh, but they're going to like reject it. They don't reject it, they resist it. But they resist any change.
True.
You change them to another school, they resist it. You start giving them a different type of food, they resist it. They resist change because they're kids, right? They're used to like routine. And I always say to the parents, if you want to bring it out, like bring the language into their home now, have a conversation with them from now on. That you would have a conversation if you're moving them to another country. We're going to move to another country. I know it's going to be difficult to miss your friends, but this is for the, for the family. You're gonna go to a new school. It's going to be difficult at first, but you're gonna go through it. It's the same with language. From now on, mom is going to talk to you in her language. I know it's going to be difficult. I know that you're not used to it. I know that at first it's going to sound weird to you, but this is important for our family, for who I am. So you can talk to the family, or you can just learn a second language, whatever the reason behind is. And then you just stick to it, right? Like you move to another country, you don't move back just because your child is having a hard time. You just go through it, right? And it's the same. At first, you say whatever you want to say in your language. Then you're like, oh, let's eat. Vamos a comer. A comer? Vamos a comer? And then within a couple of weeks, months, let's say weeks, months, it doesn't matter how long it takes your family to adjust. Then you say, vamos a comer, vamos a comer. In a couple of weeks, you just say, vamos a comer. And they'll know. They'll know what they're saying because those months will pass regardless. So why not
the time will pass regardless. Yeah, I love that. So what do you think about the Tower of Babel story?
Oh my gosh.
It's just so...
I know.
This whole language thing...
You know, I had an interview. I interviewed parents because everyone brings a different taste to the story of bilingualism, right? And he goes, which I loved. I love when people just don't agree with me and they kind of like challenge
push back,
me. Yeah. And he goes, they're Afrikaans. And I interviewed the mom and she's like, oh my God, yes, I'm definitely teaching Afrikaans. They're new on island. I'm teaching her Afrikaans. It's so important for me that she learns Afrikaans and the Afrikaans culture. And he goes, well, but at the end of the day, Afrikaans is my language, not really hers. Like his daughter. And he goes,
push back.
He goes like, it's important to me. Why is it important to her? Why does it have to be important to
Good
her?
questions.
Right? And then he goes, because before we all had different languages because we were separated and we didn't connect.
That's true.
With each other.
Very true.
But now that we're all connecting and we can travel,
what's the point of having so
many different languages? So I was like, true, but if you miss the language, you miss the culture, and you miss the history, and you miss everything that comes with it. So you miss the Pablito clavó un clavito. You miss the oigo. You miss the a dead fish is pez ofuscado, you know? You miss all the little details that makes you, you know? I'm Cuban not only because I speak Spanish, but also because I speak Spanish. You know what I mean? I don't think it would have to be rewritten, history, for Latinos to speak English. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or for like
I see what you're
British
saying.
to speak
Spanish
Portuguese or Spanish. I don't know if you have heard the songs, the salsa romantic songs. There's people that very funny videos that like the reason why salsa is in Spanish, and then they sing the same song, but in English, and it makes absolutely no sense. Trying to be as romantic as they were in Spanish, but not really making it. That's the reason why you're funnier in your language. That's the reason why when you think or dream, you do it in your language. I get in there. I can communicate in English pretty well. I'm not going to say that my English is perfect, but I can communicate in English pretty well. And if I very tired and kept saying something to me, I'll reply in Spanish because my brain just defaults to that because of who I am, right? And if you just have everyone, let's say.
I see where you're going with this. And let's say. It makes life more interesting.
Exactly.
It just, the diversity.
Let's say that you, from now on, every single country in the world, once, gets together and be like, let's just teach just one language for everyone. Because of where we live, because of the people that you are with, there will be variations of those languages.
True.
And those variations of those languages will become languages.
Interesting.
Right?
That's very true.
Yeah.
Because I'm sorry, but Jamaican patois might as well be a different language.
It is.
Yeah. Because it's not English.
Exactly.
You know? And I can see, that's very interesting. I never actually thought about that. That dialects can actually become a different language over time.
As a linguist, we are very open to variation. It's not about speaking better or worse English or Spanish or whatever the language is. It's just different. Completely different. It's just a variation of the language that if it sticks, it will be in the books. It will be in the dictionaries, right? So it's very interesting to see how you might say, oh, that's not how you say that word in English.
Right.
But if I keep saying it, and the community starts saying it, and that expands, and that stays, that sticks, and then years go by, and then centuries go by, at some point, that becomes the norm. Right?
Yeah.
And then the variation just became the norm for the language. What started as that's not how you say.
A slight variation.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's almost like evolution, where this little change happens, and then it turned out to be, something that kept going, and
it doesn't happen overnight,
right?
But it does. They do stay, and I am so welcoming when it comes to accents and to variations. First of all, because I speak English with an accent, obviously, but within the same language. For example, you don't speak English like Kev, my husband from South Africa, speaks English. And even in South Africa, English people don't speak English like people that have Afrikaans as their first language. Or in the US, people from the North don't speak English as people from the South, right? And that happens in every single language. And I went to Jamaica once, and we were in a taxi, and I'm so passionate about languages and dialects and accents and all of that I say to him, oh, I teach a lot of Jamaican students, and sometimes they talk to me in patois, and he's like, you should have seen his face. He that kids in another country are speaking my language, who I am, my dialect. You know what I mean? And it's so fascinating how he was happy to know, and at the same time he was like, yeah, but that's not proper English. We're not allowed. We are not supposed to use it in a context where. And I was like, no. Because you are bringing it down, the quality of it, or the the status of the language. If you guys that speak patois think that, I shouldn't, the status is not up there, then it will never be. But if you own it, if you defend it, if you put it out there, being proud about it, or like Caymanian accent, right? I have heard plenty of times Caymanians changing how they speak because they're in front of expats. This is my country, and this is my dialect, and this is how I speak English. And you, expat, need to learn how to understand it and probably how to speak it if you live here. You know what I mean? And we should be proud of our accents. I'm proud of my accent because, accent is pretty much how you learned how to pronounce words in your first language. So I'm speaking in English now with how I position my vocal cords, my lips, my teeth, my tongue, how I learned to do that in Spanish when I was a child, right? So I am using the placement of Spanish for English words. That's so why crazy. It sounds different.
It shows how complex the mouth and the tongue is.
Exactly.
It's like it was almost built to speak. You know?
And it shows how biased we are towards just different accent or variation. So when you hear someone from the US, you say, oh, that's English. It's just an American accent. But you would never say that his English is not good, right? It's just different. But if I start speaking now with a very Latino accent, and even though every single word I'm saying is correct, but my accent is very Latino or very Cuban, right? You'll say, her English is the worst, like absolute chaos, even though you understood everything, right? So communication is the end goal when it comes to pragmatic linguistic. If you can understand what I'm saying, the communication has been established, regardless of my accent. But immigration, all of these waves of immigration brought people that didn't speak the language to a specific country. And you would say, oh, if you can't speak my language like I do, you are less than me. And that's why we try to mimic the accent, the way of saying words of the country that we go to, which I don't see here in Cayman. If you go to the UK, you hear not everyone, whatever specific part to the UK you hear that British thick accent. If you go to the US, then you hear that American accent. If you go to Ireland, the very thick, strong Irish accent.
You know what's the hardest for me? Scottish.
Oh, I know. I just
sometimes I'm like, I can't understand you. Yeah.
I know.
That's crazy.
But then you come here and you don't hear it.
That's true.
And it's sad. It's very sad. You get to the airport and very few.
You hear it, but
you hear it.
Few.
You hear it if you know it. If you have been living in Cayman for long enough, you're like, there it is. That's the Caymanian accent. If you are out and about and you hear it, especially old people, they're like, they won't change it, right? They won't change it.
That's true.
You hear it, she's Caymanian or he's Caymanian. But if you look at kind of like our generation, you have to wear it pride. You have to wear it proudly that you're Caymanian. And here in Cayman, it has become, Caymanians are kind of like afraid of doing it. And I know there's the talk out there that expats will make fun of it or will think of it as less. But if Caymanians don't stand up and be like, this is our accent and this is our dialect and this is our island. And Bobo, this is how we speak here. So you better get used to it, right?
That's interesting.
You know, like you go to West Bay and you go to the schools and you hear kids saying, who you for? Like, you know, like, and then you kind of like pick up on like phrases they say. But as soon as they turn and talk to you, they change it.
That's true.
And I don't like it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I do that for sure, 100%. Because I've had some podcasts where it's just Caymanian. We just speaking Caymanian to each other. And it's, I don't think it's like we're afraid. I'm not sure what it is. I think also what I think it is that sometimes you need that feedback loop.
Yeah.
So when you're speaking Caymanian and you're getting Caymanian back, then you can keep going. But then if you don't, it's kind of like, well, I don't know. What's the point of me?
You're right. You know. Afraid is not the word, but I think you guys are not embracing it. You can speak in Caymanian to me, and I might not understand a few things.
You understand most of it, for sure.
But I will understand most of it. And you know what to... I mean, if you go to Cuba, it's not the same thing that how you would speak in Vedado than in 10 de Octubre, where you stay with Claudia, and, right? We don't speak it the same. There's like this slang that you guys use that you don't necessarily have to use it with me. I might not understand it. But even the intonation, the how you guys... go through the words that I would want to hear it more, right? If we are in Cayman, like you guys kind of like refrain from it. Like you just say, oh, you want the feedback loop. Why? You know what I mean? I am not getting any Latino accent from you.
Yeah.
So, like,
you give me some homework. You give me some homework.
Yeah.
Gemma. That means I call you Gema, you know?
Oh,
are you ready for that?
I just got you ready for that one. You say to me, what happened? Every single time you see me.
That's true.
Right?
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
And you know what? That starts in schools.
Yeah.
With kids.
What starts? You mean changing the accent?
Changing the how proud you wear it. How proud you go out there and say it. How proud you are.
There's something freeing about it too when you're speaking Caymani, because it's like the easiest way to speak
because
almost.
It's you.
Yeah.
It's not the easiest. It's your way to speak your language. And I shouldn't be, as an expat, I shouldn't be threatened by it. I should be like, this is their home. And now you say that you were to Serbia and like weeks went by and you were like, I'm understanding now. That's how we will feel here in Cayman. Oh, I'm understanding who your family is and like at the end. And I'll start using
at the end.
and I'll start using it as well, right? You know what I mean? Like again, it's not about being afraid. It's about also avoiding kind of like confrontation sometimes. I know that some expat can be pretty disrespectful when it comes to it, or like you guys feel like, you know, terms, it comes out like us being racist and whatever, like some expats and, you know, and as long as we respect it, we can honor it. But if you guys don't honor it yourself, how are we going to do it?
Interesting. I'm being schooled about speaking Caymanian from a Cuban linguist.
You know, I follow.
Why I started this podcast. Right?
I follow a few Caymanian girls. You know, I'm very bad with names. Don't put this in the podcast. Let me see if I remember. You know the one that she went one of the queens. I'm friend with a lot of queens. With Georgina, I'm friend with a lot of queens, right? Okay. And they do a few of like Caymanian bits on TikTok and that. Right. And I never skip a video because I love to see them being Caymanian, being them. You know what I mean? But then they talk to me and they switch to the English proper whatever accent you guys put on,
and you're
right?
Like, oh,
and
don't switch.
I'm like, no, give me the wawa.
The wawa, that's funny.
And you know what? Now you're my friend. Like we have known each other for so long, but you can't, as an expat, you can't do that to a Caymanian. Give me the wawa. They might think that I'm making fun of that.
But yeah, I know you weren't.
But you know me. Yeah, I'm not making fun of it. And all my Caymanian friends would know that I'm not making fun of it and that I'm obsessed with Caymanian culture. You know? And because I want my kids to be as proud of the place that they're growing up in as I am of the Cuban culture, and my husband is of his South African culture, and you guys need to bring it out more. We need more quadrille out there in outside, a flash mob in Camana Bay with that very Caribbean feel. You know, like more steel band events, more of the Caymanian culture, more out there. Because, you know, like I've been living here for a long time. And if you ask me, where do you go to see Caymanian culture? As in like an event or, you know, like, where do you go? I have been at the museum
A million times?
A million times. 10 times during this break alone. During this school break alone. Like I say, I try to give my kids like, you know, fish fry and oxtail and like Cayman cookout and whatever. And that island experience, take them back to East End. I take them to Dreamchasers because I know she's trying to keep alive the Caymanian culture. I take them to the Barabanu Kids Carnival because that's such an important part. Carnival is such an important part of the Caymanian Caribbean culture. But other than that, where else can I take them?
It's true.
Right?
Yeah.
Where else can I take my kids to know what Cayman is? And I want more. We need more places. It's not about, because when you go to Cuba, you don't even have to ask for where those places are. They're there.
Just walk down the street.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're there. They're like constantly touching you, you know, shaping who you are. You just walk through Cuba and you can feel the culture. And when you're in South Africa, it's kind of like the same. But we need more of that here. That's why I say that cultures, including Caymanian one, are being diluted here in Cayman.
I don't think anybody would disagree with you. You know, I think that, you know, I think you set the challenge like we do. And there are, I mean, I think everyone's aware of it. And there's definitely attempts at, you know, recreating the cultural events.
They are.
But we need to keep it going, and we need to add more and add more.
And we need to do it intentionally. Right. We need to be aware of where the gap is. And we need to fill it.
I like that.
And I say we because I'm an expat, but I've been living in Cayman for the last 11 years. I taught in schools, in Caymanian government schools, to Caymanian kids for almost a decade. So I feel very much a part of, my very good friends are Caymanians. Like, I feel very part of this island. If, like, you know, when you make yourself feel, when you feel at home, you know, when you go and put the flowers and you go like protect both islands, not only protect Cuba, but also protect Cayman, you know, like, I want more. And I say that with respect because I would like to have more. I need more. I want more for my kids. I want for Caymanian kids in general. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's important, man. I think you're bringing up a good need that you know that Cayman needs, and you know. Cayman has its own set of challenges, and it's very unique, and it's a very young country. You know, even to Cuba. Cuba's been around for so long,
definitely,
right? Like,
definitely. And it's evolving and changing as we speak.
Very quickly in a lot of different ways. You know. So I think,
but that's the reason why it's so important to do it. Because the more it changes, the more it evolves, the more it dilutes. You know, so we are. Especially the younger generation, they're aware of what the culture is. Are they grounded in the culture? You know, can we respond to that question? How do we make them being like grounded into like, because my kids are growing up here, right? And they don't really have that Caymanian aspect of them if I don't bring it intentionally into their lives. Because for Caymanian kids, they have it at home, right? But like, how do we make it a thing that I am from Cayman, I grew up there, and therefore I do this, I eat this, I dance like this, I dress like, I speak certain way, which is what makes Caymanians.
Maybe like social media and TikTok and stuff is a good thing for people.
Yeah, but my kids are like 4 years old. I can't take them. I can be like, open a TikTok video there about how to be a Caymanian, like scroll.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. You need not just social media, but you need actually real world stuff.
Yes. More like, I don't know, festivals and shows. And we do have a lot of, and I thank them for that, the Cayman Music School, for like all of their amazing shows. But like, what about storytelling, like Caymanian ones for kids, specifically for kids, you know, like, or like sing along, maybe Caymanian lullabies, the ones that only you guys will hear at home growing up, or like, or the variation that you guys had. I'm like making things up here, but you know what I'm trying to say. And that will also bring, which is another part that and I hope no one comes for my neck, but that's another part. Like, we need to come together because at the end of the day, we're all living here, right? And it's all about, like you say, oh, it's beautiful how you, instead of appropriation, you're calling it honoring, right? And I think trying to bring everyone together will be better for the love of this island.
Amen.
rather than oh, this
Your
is my
other,
culture and my language and this is mine and you're not from here and get out of here. It's more of like, this is who I am. Would you like to be a part of it? If you respect it? Yes, of course, I'm in. You know what I mean? And it's very interesting because you see on social media the friction.
Yeah.
But I have never felt
that on the street. It's true.
Never.
It's true.
I have yet to feel like a Caymanian mistreating me. Never. That has never happened. And obviously on social media, you're like,
yeah, you see it.
Yeah, it's about to happen.
You can hide behind anonymous.
Oh yeah, it's about to happen. Yeah. But on the street, that doesn't. Oh, it happened once. Once.
Which is fine. Like, it's gonna happen as well.
Fine.
But like,
it was
you gotta push past
at the theater, and someone said something. I think Nandi touched. I don't know. I think her touched something in her seat, and I said in Spanish, Nandi, don't touch that. No toques eso. Just like, oh, you speak Spanish. Very soon you all will be out of here. And I was like, but it was one time. Right. And I've been here 11 years. Right. So I have always felt very welcomed, and I have always felt you guys are the most, like, Caribbean people. Like, you see everyone on the street with a smile, with a good morning, and yeah, man, like, how is the day today? You know, like that very homey Caribbean, Cuban type of feeling as well. But
that's true. We do need to be more intentional. You're so right about that, because, you know, you just said morning, and like, I feel like that's one thing that I was always very intentional about, that if I went into a place, I would say good morning.
Yeah.
But then you kind of lose that because a lot of people just don't say that.
But we have to be the bigger person. We have to.
And I remember we were talking to this young Caymanian girl the other day, and she said, yes, sir, to me, right? Because she's not. Yeah. I was like, yeah, you better call me sir. She laughed, but she's like, no, I always do that. And then she started talking about morning, like I always say morning, and she's like, I know that people don't say that, but I'm still gonna say it because that's who I am. And I'm like,
isn't it better to just train people to say it rather than stopping something that is actually a good thing? Right?
Yes.
Like, you're kind of like, you're stopping like being who you are, how you were raised.
That's
the
true.
thing that everyone in Cayman did for
trained you
years,
and
trained you to do it, and that's also manners.
That's also manners. It's a beautiful thing. Right? It's so much better to step in the elevator and say good morning than to ignore people.
Yeah, you know how many friends I've made? I mean, I'm Cuban. All like, morning, oh my gosh, I love your hair like that, look your ears. And I don't even know the girl. And she's like, oh, thank you. You know what I got them? Like, the human interaction. That's a simple good morning. Yeah, it could start a friendship or not. But just that, why would we stop that, right? That makes Cayman. Why would we stop that?
I think intentional is the word that I'm taking away from this podcast, because to create the culture, to create these events, to create, to keep the language, the accent, you need to be intentional. It needs to be something that even like, it's like a situation where you're like, I don't want to do it, but no, be intentional, do it.
Yeah, we have to. We have
act
to
in
do
that
it.
way.
Yes.
Yeah. Or the other words, there's the intentionality
and creating the need.
And the need.
Yeah.
And the need.
The need. Yeah. Like, if we stop doing those type of things, then what?
Yeah.
They won.
Yeah. And you've lost something. Yeah, that doesn't need to be lost, right? All right, Caymanians, we gotta be more intentional.
We need to be more intentional.
For sure.
All of us, and expats, we also need to be more intentional when it comes to respecting and trying to be
and honoring
and trying to be
and
in
the times that I'm like with some of my expat friends and I'll speak Caymanian, like they'll love it. They're like, I like that. Say that.
And if you do it long enough, our English kind of like mimicking.
And I've heard that.
Mimicking that.
I've heard that. And I do like that. I'm like, wow, okay,
I said a lot of South African slang without even knowing that South African slang, just because my husband says it, and then I will copy it without realizing it, right? And imagine if that Caymanian accent, starts coming out again.
True.
Our English will change. Right. And I'm happy with it. Like, we have to be okay with it.
And it would bring everyone together a little bit more. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, obviously.
All right, speaking Cayman for the rest of the day now.
Thank you.
All right, going to Foster's. I'm talking to everybody Cayman. Not just Caymanians.
And you know what?
So I hope they're ready. I hope they're ready for this.
And your brain will rewire itself.
Right.
Like I say to the parents raising bilingual kids, it will take you a few weeks for your brain to rewire. It will take you a few weeks to just start speaking with your accent.
But then, like you're saying, after a while, it'll connect and it'll just be natural and free-flowing.
You just have to be intentional about it. Whatever the outcome is.
I got to remember that.
Whatever the outcome is.
Because you're going to slip back into old habits, but the intentionality keeps you there,
They will resist it. Expat will resist it. We're not used to it. That's new. But do you stop because I'm resisting? Do I stop because my kids don't want to go to school or don't want to eat? I don't stop. I keep going until it's just a new norm. Until it's a new norm, right?
A new norm. I love that.
Yeah. Let's do it. Let's be intentional.
I love it.
We need it.
This has been a great podcast.
I think happy.
Almost 2 hours. Thank you so much.
It's been a great catch up, right?
Yeah, man. I learned a lot, to be honest. I saw you posting the linguistic stuff, and I definitely wanted to talk to you about that, and I definitely learned a lot. And before you go though, what are you doing? Any creative stuff? When are you going back to Cuba film a movie?
Let me know.
There is one movie I want to do there.
Please let me know. Now the logistics are going to be a little bit more difficult. With 3 kids in the picture are going to be a bit more difficult. But we're going to Cuba. They might as well just come.
But what about your creativity stuff? Are there any dancing?
Oh yes, of course. I am teaching the little dreamers.
Okay, so not only do you take your kids there, but you
I
teach?
also teach one class cool. there. And I absolutely love it. You know how much, I'm a former dancer and I've always been involved in the cultural part of Cayman. That's why I want more, right? And ever since I knew that Dreamchasers existed, I was like, that's where want my kids to go. And if I can become a part of it, I'm going to as well. So I've been teaching that class with them. My kids are still very little, so it takes a lot of time with them. But whenever they need Gem, come and model here for us, or Cuban salsa class, and I'm teaching that class. I always have to be. We were in Vegas, and we just finished watching a show, and I say, linguistics is in my brain. My brain is filled with languages and linguistics, but dance is in my heart. Like I miss just dancing so much. At home, it has been kind of like replaced by homework, but during that time, we used to dance. We used to just play. Music would be playing. It's very difficult to be in a Cuban home and there's silence. It's very difficult. There's always music playing. And when they used to come from preschool, during that time, would be music was playing or volume up and salsa or whatever was playing with dance. But now there's homework. And we have to use that time for homework because it's right in between bath time and dinner time, that time that you have to kill it doing something, and now there's homework. But I need to be intentional and bring it back. Yes. Oh,
that's cool. You're still doing the dancing.
Always dancing. Always being creative with them.
I know you take part in a lot of the Bada stuff, and I would see over the years.
And they're doing the Cayman Got Talent again. I've seen some posts
for
around.
Real? Okay, I haven't seen that yet.
I was a coach on the Cayman Kids Got Talent.
Okay, nice.
10 years ago. And Mel from Dreamchasers, she was one of the judges. Ah, okay. So very
That's how you all met, or?
No, I met her because she also teaches in schools.
Oh, okay.
In West Bay Primary School, but same. she's a teacher here, but she's a dancer down here.
Right. So you're saying Cayman Got Talent is back out there again, and that they're doing it again?
I think I saw something which it's amazing. Yeah. Right? Because Cayman Got Talent.
Yeah, man. We do. Everyone knows that, right?
Exactly.
Like per capita, there's such a small population.
It doesn't matter.
But
the talent is there.
Right.
We don't have to quantify it.
Right. That's true. That's a good point, actually. So, Gema, thanks so much.
Thank you
for
having me.
I really appreciate, on the podcast. And I was going to reach out to you at some point to come on the podcast. Because when I reached out to her, she was like, finally.
Finally. I was waiting for that message.
But no, definitely. We've always had good conversations. And like you were saying before we started, like similar points of interest.
Yeah, definitely. And sometimes different point of views, but they always meet.
That's true.
At some point.
That's true. We would challenge each other.
We have had heated conversations before.
That's true.
But being friends, we always find
that's true.
Boom.
And I think that's important. Just that idea of, and you can have different points of views.
Obviously.
And still
diversity. Right? Interesting. That's why we can't have just one language.
No, I think you convinced me on that. I think you
Imagine. I would die.
Everyone's the same.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty dull. That's pretty dull. Yeah.
Obviously, it's impossible. It's humanly impossible.
I think that too. I think maybe the Tower of Babel was right. I think at one point there was just one language.
Yeah.
But then it just kind of, and I think that's just always going to happen.
Yeah. Definitely.
All right, great. I'm sure we have other things to do. So thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, definitely. We'll have you back on again one day.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Thank you, you too.
All right,
bye.